the slogan on there, which still remains the official slogan. It's on all our money. Maybe you'd like to have it removed. But it says, Annuit coeptis, which is Latin for He, God, has favored our cause. Divine providence has greatly favored and blessed this nation. And if we push His values and His principles and His Bible out of public life, out of the public square, and ghettoize anybody who believes that God reigns supreme and that dominion is the Lord's and He rules the nations, if we do that, as apparently you prefer that we do, then we're going to have to pay a price, because we have a high debt of gratitude to Almighty God. We wouldn't be a country in the first place if it hadn't been for Him. And to insult Him by establishing as a civil right, or putting into the Bill of Rights, actions which He considers to be an abomination and an offense to Him personally, is a formula for national disaster.
I disagree. I believe in God, and I don't believe I'm going to be persecuted for what I am. You know?
Well, why do you want to persecute us and push all the...
I'm not pushing and persecuting. You know, in honesty, the Bible was written by man. And you just got to remember that too, you know. We have a habit of changing history and things to suit ourselves. So, you know, everybody should have the right to believe in what religion and believe in it. And that's what I believe.
Well, we absolutely believe that everybody has the right to believe in what they choose. But we, the majority, have a right to be governed by laws that reflect our beliefs, as Alan Keyes said recently, and as Jefferson said in a letter to John Adams. The fundamental reason that the American Revolution was fought was to establish the first and foremost, the primary freedom of all other freedoms, the one that overarches all other freedoms, namely the freedom of a people to be self-governing. If you have politburos of 9 bedecked in black robes, mandating and shoving down our throats what they feel, what they, the elite rulers of this country, feel is better than what the people desire, then that is not freedom as understood by our founders.
On the contrary, our founders created a constitution that enshrines 3 branches of government, and the Supreme Court that you're referring to, which used to be considered in a very high light, just as liberal used to be a good word, is only one portion of it. They are appointed for life so that they can remain independent. And they do not make the law, they rule upon the law and whether or not it is constitutional. So let's not damn the court system.
You say they do not make the law. Where have you been over the last several decades?
They're meant in the United States of America. They do not make the law, but they rule on the constitutionality of laws. That is what they do. They do not have the legislative power that is reserved to the legislature, to the Congress.
What does the phrase legislation from the bench mean to you?
It is not the, well, I would flunk you in political science, sir.
Well, I might flunk you in history, sir.
Well, history according to you, sir.
Let's look at question 10. This referendum, in any way, is it an attempt to reverse the domestic partnership laws that currently exist in Washington State, understanding that those laws also protect domestic partnerships? Please limit your time.
I'm not quite sure I understand exactly the question given its wording, but let me take a stab at it. Domestic partnership was established a few years ago, so this referendum, if it really is to obliterate domestic partnership, is a couple of years too late. It is really preventing certain laws or certain legal provisions that apply to marriage from being also extended to domestic partners, and I believe Mr. Wilbur listed those provisions. So that's what it's about. That's what the referendum is about. But it's really about families. It's really about couples. It's really about your friends, relatives who may be gay or lesbian, or who may be seniors who need to have the protections the domestic partner law provides. Think about the people who are affected by this, not by the imaginings of people who think that the world will come to an end, that their religious freedoms will be destroyed, that they'll be thrown in prison for believing what they believe. Those are not true. Those are fears, perhaps, but they are not the way things are in our state at this time, so far as I know. And I hope you will join me in being sure that they're not, because religious freedom is very important to us. And also it is very important that we not live under the thumb of a religion dictated by Mr. Struble. And to say that our government must be under God because the money says so, because the Pledge of Allegiance says so, and therefore under the God as Mr. Struble understands it, is a mistake, and it would be a very terrible one to make. So think of the families, think of the couples, think of the loving people involved in the state whom you know or who are in your community. Those are the people who need your attention. That's why you should approve Referendum 71.
And Joseph.
And as you said, the answer to the question in short is no, that if Referendum 71 is rejected, it will not repeal the domestic partnership registry. Same-sex couples will still have the opportunity to own property together, adopt children together, visit each other in the hospital, make burial decisions, have inheritance without a will benefits. There's a long list of benefits that will still exist regardless of what happens on Referendum 71. But really what this is about, you must put this conversation in the bigger context of what do we believe about relationships and what do we believe about marriage. And it is fundamentally about the issue of marriage and what we are going to do with that issue in this state. And should it be a bundle of rights that we pass to individuals in order to validate their living arrangements, or is it something more significant than that? And is it something that has more to do with these relationships are far more likely to create children, and they are the ideal environment in which those children should be raised. Without even understanding it, that's what marriage has always been. It is only until recently that we have decided to use the institution as a way to affirm people's living arrangements. I happen to think that that's not the proper role for the institution of marriage and the benefits that coincide with it. That does not mean that people who live outside that arrangement deserve to be persecuted, treated rudely, or not be able to fully engage in society. But fundamentally, we have to ask, what do we believe about this institution? Who are we as a people? And what do we want to promote? And of course, we have to think about the ramifications and understand that if we open the door now, who else might be knocking on the door soon? And are we going to have a rational reason to say no to them if we say yes now? For that reason, you should reject Referendum 71.
The things you imagine coming in the future may or may not happen, but you know they'll happen in public. They'll happen based on decisions of legislature or decisions of the people on future referenda or initiatives, and that's as it should be. Yes, we can all think that this or that future may unfold, but they're not required to unfold because of someone's in the direction that someone may fear. We are all part of our government. We must participate in it, and we must do that by being well informed. I hope that you'll be well informed. Go to the ballot when you go to the ballot box this fall and vote for what you believe is in the best interest of your community and your country and the people with whom you live.
Well, the next question that I have for all the panelists, and there's a reason why that I'm going to ask this question, and I'll tell you the reason before I ask the question. Many years ago, there was a very dear friend of mine that would always get in the habit of asking a very bizarre question at the most awkward times in conversations with him and with others. And the reason why that he did ask the same question was because rather than looking at the differences of opinion, the differences of vision, and of all these things that divide, let's find something that we can all agree on. So one question for all the guests on the set, and then I'll have the final thought. This question is not on the script either, but very short and sweet. Mr. Struble, do you like chicken?
Only if it's well cooked. I would discriminate against people who give it to me raw.
What about you, Mr. Michael?
I like chicken. Yes.
All right.
I like chicken if it's free-ranging, and a happy chicken.
All right, Alta?
Yes, I like chicken.
And Mr. Winters?
I I'm not a vegetarian.